Look YouTube and welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. And the championship season is back and Derby are here after a fair few seasons at the helm in League One, and we are back. Didn't take long, did it? And we are going to be in the thick of it very soon. Derby kicking off tonight, the championship season against Blackburn, as are I think Sheffield United and Preston. Very excited. It's such an unpredictable league. People can finish anywhere in this league. It's a very exciting league. Anyone can win on the day. But before we start, in future videos which will come out, I say, can we aim for 150? Well, I don't even need to. Thank you, everybody. We arrived at 150 subscribers. Thank you so much. I did not expect to reach this milestone so soon, and we've had over 1,000 views in the last 48 hours. I think mainly due to the shorts, which seem to be really popular on this channel. I thank everybody who has subscribed. For 12 who has subscribed this last month, or whether you've been a longer term subscriber and you've continued sticking with this channel through thick and thin. Thank you to all of you. And if you are new around here, I'd also love you to join. We're not planning to stop at 150. We're going to try and continue. But anyway, let's get back into the predictions. 24th, Blackburn Rovers. Okay, I look at this squad and I see it as an incredibly weak squad in the championship. I agree John Eustace is a good appointment as a manager, and he was treated quite harshly at Birmingham. But I think it's at the moment an appointment to avoid relegation and go for a long-term project. And is that what Blackburn fans want at present? But that's probably what you're going to get. Andy Weimann is probably the only good transfer so far this window. But even then, he is getting on a bit in years. I still remember him when he was at Derby, of their view, about half a decade ago, if not longer now, actually, coming to think about it. And the club is full of deadwood, and it just needs a huge reset, in my opinion. I don't know if Eustace is the man to lead that rebuild, but someone does, and it needs to happen soon. But they've missed that chance, and this season they will suffer the inevitable consequences of neglect over the last few years and get relegated. 23rd, Queen's Park Rangers. Put your hand up if you knew who Marti Cifuentes was before he came to QPR. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say nobody. My main concern is if his recruitment entails all foreign players who take a longer time to catch up to the standard of the championship for a whole host of reasons. Because I'm looking at the players coming in, and I haven't heard of any of them really, I do think it'll be a bit of a slow, disjointed start to the season maybe, and prove a real test of whether he is kept with, or whether they opt to bring some other management in, which would create further instability at the club. I think in the moment it's quite a turmoil time at Loftus Road, and they've been regressing over the years, and the quality has certainly decreased. So yeah, I do think relegation this season. 22nd, Stoke City. I must say the appointment of Steven Schumacher is a risk relatively unproven at this level, only being with Plymouth. Well, I think results were mixed. He did keep them up, which was a job he had to do, but I think Stoke have a bit more lofty aspirations than that. They've been probably trying to spend their way out of trouble for a few years, which instead of bringing success, has brought nothing but mediocrity. This shows with a change of manager being from very well-known championship managers to managers who are not very good in the championship. And you can see the regression in sort of the O'Neills and Rowetts of this world, the Schumachers. It is a decrease in quality. Victor Johansson, though, is a good signing as a goalkeeper who was relegated last season, but that wasn't his fault. He was one of the best goalkeepers in the championship, in my opinion. Ben Gibson is vastly experienced at this level, and Sam Gallagher pulls up good stats for a winger as well. However, all these signings mean nothing compared to the vast waves that are leaving this club. Yet again, a lack of stability with Stoke. This lack of stability is bearing down bad results at present, and this will continue with going too far down this reckless instability, and relegation will finally come to the Potters. 21st, Portsmouth. Okay, I admit that John Messina is probably better than I gave him credit for this time last year in the predictions video, but he still hasn't managed at this level, and hardly played at this level either. I worry that because they think that they played well in League One last season, that we can do well in the Championship because, hey, look at what happened at Ipswich last season. However, there were definite certain factors in play there, and other than Matt Ritchie and Josh Murphy, the signings aren't convincing enough for a club with aspirations beyond survival. We will see, but I think it's a team enough on paper to survive, but only just. 20th, Oxford United. Their stadium is not Championship standard one for sure. You can't have only 3 stands. Secondly, Des Buckingham is an interesting manager who is clearly successful with an eye for detail. What I worry about is its long-term picture, and that it may actually come a bit too soon for Oxford, that they have managed to claw themselves from going into mediocrity in League One to promotion. They will now probably be plunged into a relegation battle from this first season. So what's going to probably be needed is to go back to basics. And whether it's the right time to do that with Des Buckingham in charge, I'm not sure. Will Volks, Louis Sibley and Matt Ingram are all signs of a club planning to stay in the league, hence why I think they will do. They've also kept that promotion-winning squad. So yes, a solid season ending in survival, but nothing to write home about. 19th, Hull City. Seriously, did these people learn nothing from Birmingham City sacking Eustace? Like, genuinely. Liam Rosenior was doing a fantastic job with this squad, almost getting them into the playoffs. So why sack him? In my opinion, he shouldn't have been sacked, and I think for a lot of Hull fans as well. His tactics obviously suited the Championship very well. Also, Tim Walter has obviously been brought in because he plays nice attacking football, because that's what the owners said they wanted. The issue is the squad has been assembled with a good defence in mind. So by encouraging attacking play, well, this will just create a hit to performances, and suddenly they're plunged into a relegation battle, all because the owners wanted to see some nice football. The signings also look like playing neglect to letting 2 goalkeepers go in Matt Ingram and Ryan Allsop, and Jacob Greaves and Jaden Philogene are 2 youngsters that would have been really helpful to keep this season. Overall, a shake-up of manager and a loss of good players that mean a relegation battle is inevitable. 18th, Sheffield Wednesday. That run at the end of the season was enough to pull off a miraculous survival, all thanks to Roll's strategic mastermind. With him at the helm, I think it'll be slightly more comfortable season, but we will still see a relegation battling season, just a bit more comfortable. The incomings have been positive as well, with Ben Haver, who is a bit of a survival specialist. Jamal Lowe is a fantastic winger at this level. Max Lowe is a controversial signing, having been with Sheffield United from the last club he was at, but he is a strong wing back at this level. And Nathaniel Shalabar, who seems to have been a promising youngster for years now, despite being 29. But he's versatile, got strong work rate, and is good in attack and defence with his height and tackling ability. What I'm saying is this is a squad which will comfortably survive. Sunderland at 17th. No one can deny the fan base is strong with this club. However, they flopped expectations last season, and I reckon the fan base is eager to get success. So when it doesn't come to that, it can be quite a toxic place. So at the stadium we like. Rigaud Le Brie, is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure. Is the riskiest managerial appointment I think I've ever seen. He was in Liga last season, and that is known for being quite a weak league as it is. And he only had a win percentage there of 30%. It definitely isn't good enough to improve on last season's performances. So I reckon a fairly similar one at 17th. The transfers have been bang average so far, so it's going to be a stale, boring season. Sorry, Black Cats fans. 16th, Norwich City. Johannes Hoff Froop is a ridiculous appointment. He's only ever spent a year and a half manager, and all of which is in Danish Superliga. And even then, it was a win every other game against poor opposition. Like, has also been a little change for him to change philosophy, so he will have to change and adapt his playing philosophy to playing, I don't want to say proper games, but you know what I mean, like a bit less one-sided encounters, which means a poor start to the season only to come back to mid-table after changing managerial setup and a philosophy which works in the Championship. I'm sorry, I'm yet to be drawn on the manager. 15th, Bristol City. This team every season just ends up in mid-table. I don't know how they do it. Liam Manning will be no different, who is great at League One and has thus far proven to be a mid-table manager in the Championship. However, he will bear fruits long term, known for bringing in youngsters and favours high possession pressing football, which is successful at this level when done well. Other than the bringing in a Sinclair Armstrong and the departure of Andy Vyman, not much has therefore happened of note this transfer window, and the quality is probably about the same. So, yet again, a mid-table season. 14th, Preston North End. Yet another team that always finishes mid-table is Preston. They'll start the season well and then end up dragging off. They'll start in like halfway, they'll be like 5th, and then they'll let it float into mid-table because the second half of the season is not good as the first. Ryan Lowe is known for implementing gung-ho football in a 3-1-4-2 system, which I would say is a very unique style of play. And this certainly bears good results in a weaker league, but in the Championship, I think it will bear mixed results, as shown as reduction of win percentage by 5% last season. I would really like to know how they even have a squad, because every season it seems the club never has a transfer window with only one permanent in, one permanent out, one loaned in, and 3 released. That happens like every season. How do you even have a squad when you just don't have a transfer window? On that pure basis of standing, it still means you travel backwards. You will go down to 14th. 13th, Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick is obviously a decent manager. However, he's just nearly manager for me over recent years, having reached the playoffs in his second season, and last season he slipped a bit. And this season I think he'll slip a little bit further. Luke Ayling is the only good signing I've seen so far, and therefore, like I say before, without improvement, you end up moving backwards with other teams improving and keep leapfrogging you. 12th, Plymouth Argyle. This is quite a mental call. I think a lot of people will probably have the Argyle to get relegated this season, but I think we can agree that Wayne Rooney has yet to live up to the hype that the media have put on him. But what I have heard from players so far is that he does well on the man management basis. When he was at Derby, certainly, I think Birmingham, it was interesting. It was a toxic atmosphere to go into compared to the positive one that he went to with Derby. And I think Plymouth will probably have a bit more of a positive atmosphere because they probably will expect to be relegated. I don't think that's being unkind, but I do think that underdog mindset works much better with Wayne Rooney in charge. Well, the club last season had the least pressure in the Championship, I think, and that is definitely Plymouth. He was the same with Derby. He didn't have much pressure in terms of on the pitch performances, because obviously the points deductions, which were absolutely huge. Derby were never going to survive, so the pressure was definitely off him then. Well, just because he copes well when the pressure's off, I'm going to go with shock mid-table finish. 11th, Swansea City. This club always shows flashes of a team that can be brilliant, but they just aren't consistent enough to get out that mid-table scramble. They're really not. Luke Williams has brought success in the National League. That's a whole different game of football, I'm going to be honest, to gain success in the Championship. I've watched both Championship football and I've watched National League football before, and there is a gulf in class. Now, that's no disrespect to the National League, but you kind of expect it to be that much worse with how further down the pyramid it is. He was known, however, to dominate possession. So in that sense, he does continue the Swansea philosophy of being dominant in possession to get results. Unfortunately, they come undone when a team is good off the ball and on the counter. They're often content to let the Swans play around the back and get them on the break. It often happens quite a lot when they're at home because they allow the ball a lot. When they are away, they probably don't have that same time on the ball that you would necessarily get at home. Yeah, this is why I think it's brought a bit of mixed results over recent years, because the Championship does contain a mix of teams. You'll get on the one end of the spectrum the nice high tempo football being played by the likes of Leeds, and you'll get the pretty rotten football that you sort of get lower down the table. I can't think of a. Rotherham would normally be the team I'd reach for in this situation, but can't think of any of the top of my head right now. But QPR, for example, someone like that will probably make it quite a tough game. They have brought in players that are not really known as well in terms of at this level, so I will await to see how they perform, because they will probably do all right, but again, a bit of a time for adjustment. 10th, Cardiff City. Cardiff last season proved what they had in the locker to get nearly relegated to mid-table, and will marginally improve again, looking like a team challenging for playoffs this time round. The man behind this upturn performances is Erol Bulut. I don't know how you should pronounce his name, sorry. Who is known for getting a club which no one expects to do well to becoming really attractive and surprises people. So far, they've made some incredible acquisitions in former Premier League golden boys or prospects for the future, whatever you want to call them, such as Chris Willock, Callum Chambers, and Anwar El Ghazi. All of them were probably known at one point as sort of ones to watch for the future. So it'll be interesting to see what these golden boys at one stage are, if they can unlock that potential on a consistent basis in the Championship with the Bluebirds. I reckon, much like Welsh rivals Swansea, it'll be a case of some of the time it will, but not consistently enough to get to the playoffs. But I know some people have predicted Cardiff to get to the playoffs. 9th, West Bromwich Albion. I think Carlos Corberán is an interesting manager that I'm never quite sure where to place. Obviously, in his second season with Huddersfield Town, he looked exciting and got third place in the playoff finals. Although I can't forgive him for failing to beat Forest in the final. He also reached the playoffs last season, so why have I got him to miss out this time round? Well, the Championship is more competitive at the top end this season, definitely. And I still look at his Olympiacos spell when he was manager, and he was arguably had the best team in Greece. And he only won 2 games in 11 matches. That's a really poor spell. Well, for me, Joe Goldsmith and Devontae Cole are both really good signings, but maybe not Championship playoff quality. Lewis Dobbin as well definitely shows quality at this level as well. Paddy McNair comes in back to the Championship as well. I think he had a year out, but he had a really successful lengthy spell with Borough, and he was captain, I think, at one point, a really good player. But you got to look at the losses as well. Connor Townsend cannot be overstated. He was such a core member of the Baggy squad who had leadership qualities in abundance. So I think I just think the league's a bit stronger this year. So I think they'll struggle a bit more. 8th, Leeds United. The psychological toll of bottling a playoff final so frequently has an adverse effect on teams the season after. Like Coventry City, after their playoff finals, they dropped to 9th the season after. Huddersfield dropped to 18th after the season they got into the playoff finals. Swansea dropped to 15th the season after they reached the playoff finals. I won't carry on because I could, but I won't. It's a well-known phenomenon that is known as playoff blues, maybe you've heard it as. I think we can see this likely to happen at Leeds. It's normally also made worse with the best players leaving to the Premier League or abroad, as can be seen with Archie Gray, Charlie Creswell, Diego Llorente, Glenn Kamara, Somerville, who are just some of the best players at Leeds to have left this season. Joe Rodon and Jayden Bogle are the only good acquisitions so far. Although I must say, Daniel Farke has been out of the Championship for a few seasons, but is a good manager at his level. So I think it'll take a short while to get back into the swing of it. So it will be a slow start, but look good come the end of the season, only to miss out on playoffs. 7th, Watford. I think we can probably ignore last season as a blip of a season. And I have seen some audacious out saying, oh, the Hornets going to be relegated. I just don't think they will. I can't see it. I really can't. Tom Cleverley, though, is, I must say, an interesting managerial appointment. They have never been in the Championship before, but obviously he has a long association with the club and is well liked in the dressing room, having spent the last 6 years at the club. So I think if people perform for him, which they may well do as a more friend than a boss, I think it can work sometimes. Musa Sissoko is a brilliant player brought in, who is a versatile box-to-box midfielder who can occupy holding midfield, attacking midfield, right wing, right back. Yeah, and is definitely Premier League standard as well. If they carry on making signings of this caliber, they can definitely challenge towards the top end of the table again. And we'll see what Cleverley can do as manager. Ultimately, he's unproven, hence why so many people have so many random predictions about where Watford are going to finish, because nobody knows what Cleverley is going to bring. 6th, Millwall. Crikey, Millwall have turned the clock back, appointing Neil Harris as manager, haven't they? But with this club, he was very successful, earning promotion from League One as well as an FA Cup quarter-finals and on the precipice of the playoffs and Championship. Then, when he left Millwall, he guided Cardiff City to the Championship playoffs. With Gillingham, he was competitive in League One and took the Gills to the EFL Cup 4th round, and last season guided Cambridge to safety. So wherever he's been, he's achieved the target that he has been set out to achieve. The previous successes he's had with the Championship certainly points towards a positive season for the Lions, and some really positive signings are coming as well. With Macaulay Langstaff, who's just scored 71 goals in league games over the past 2 years with Notts County. That is mental. 71 goals in 91 league games. I don't care what level you're at, that is a mental stat. Japhet Tanganga, who is an exciting youngster who did well on loan with Millwall last season, and Lucas Jensen, who kept 19 clean sheets with Lincoln City last season, and a fitting replacement for the untimely death of Sarkic, who I must say, my thoughts do go out to his friends, his family, all the fans at Millwall. It's all his teammates as well. It's such a sad thing to have happened to lose them now at such a young age. I think he was only 27, and it's something you definitely don't want to see. And so I don't think replacement is probably the right word, but you know what I mean. On top of all this, they've retained a lot of good players as well, meaning they have built a squad to improve on enough for a solid season ending in the playoffs for me. 5th, Coventry City. Most people are labelling this team as dark horses for the playoffs. Now, someone needs to explain to these people what a dark horse actually is, because the team who reached the playoff finals 2 seasons ago, reached FA Cup semi-finals last year, taking Manchester United to a penalty shootout, and a close contender for the playoffs, is certainly not what I would consider of a dark horse. Definitely not, my friends. I'm sorry. But it's a very good squad, which is highly likely to finish in the playoffs. I have huge admiration for Mark Robins, who I'd say is probably the best Championship manager, and only behind Simon Weaver and Pep Guardiola in the entire top 4 tiers. Simon Weaver, just because of what he did over this long spell with Harrogate. Pep Guardiola for obvious reasons. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know everything about most of their signings, but I have friends and family who are Coventry fans, and they tell me that the players they've brought in, particularly Rodoni, are absolute ballers. It's obviously an end of an era of a club, with leaving Simon Moore, Liam Kelly, Callum O'Hare, and Matt Godden. But in a sense, I think we can all say how phenomenal the strides Coventry have made in their last few seasons. They were League Two like less than a decade ago, and they last season just reached an FA Cup semi-final and precipice to promotion into the Premier League. Like, that is huge, huge leaps. So definitely will be worth tuning into some of their games this season. I think they'll be a very exciting team. Fourth, Sheffield United. Firstly, I know they've got 2 points deduction, but 2 points is nothing, can be gained in one game. Now, we know the problems that the Blades face coming into this season, with an owner who doesn't want to fund the club and a defence more leaky than a colander. But Chris Wilder is well known at this club and also this league, and unlike the Premier League, where he's been poor over the last few seasons, he knows every trick in the book to get a team performing towards the top end of this league. Nobody can tell me they haven't improved with the defence with the wing backs and the acquisition of Jamie Shackleton, who can play centre mid, right back, and left back, just seems to glide across the pitch. And if you've watched my League One predictions, you'll probably know how much of an asset I think the acquisition of Harrison Burrows is. Kiefer Moore is a great Championship veteran who scores goals for fun at this level and is your typical target man. And Callum O'Hare, when he wants to, can be an incredibly good player on the ball, taking the ball forward from the midfield into the opponent's box and scoring a goal. And Harry Souttar on loan, well, we all know this centre-back did a great job in that defensively solid Stoke squad before he did his ACL. This is all the signs of a good side that can challenge towards the upper end of the table. Yes, Cameron Archer and Jayden Bogle are both losses that cannot be denied. And again, we are talking about a side who has come to an end of an era. George Baldock, Wes Froderingham, Max Lowe, Ben Osborne, Ollie McBurney, Chris Basham, John Egan, and Oliver Norwood have all left. So much of that successful Blade team that makes me nostalgic just thinking of them. But it was probably a time for a clear out after such an abysmal season last year. And I think a lot of clubs at the moment seem to be doing a clear out. We saw a little bit in Coventry. We saw it with Charlton. In the Premier League predictions, we'll see it with both Tottenham and Manchester United. But I think a clear out can sometimes be good. So yeah, that's why I think they'll do quite well this season. Third, Burnley. Yes, I do think Vincent Kompany going to Bayern is a stupid idea for his German side and ruins the good work he did with Burnley. But the appointment of Scott Parker is someone I couldn't have thought of as a better fit. Ironically, both Parker and Kompany managed in Belgium before coming to Turf Moor. But we all know Parker ball and how good it is in the Championship, with them having 2 playoff wins in the Championship already to its name, in a career spanning only half a decade. So as usual, with his side not quite good enough for automatics, but clear into the playoffs, with them finishing in that slot is never beyond doubt. They have lost a lot of good keepers, but the signing of Vaclav Hladky, who, let's just look at his past half a decade in playing, shall we? In 2019-20, he won the EFL Trophy with Salford. In 2020-21, he won the League 2 Golden Glove, was in the League 2 Team of the Season, was in the PFA Team of the Year for League 2, and was Salford City's Player of the Season. Then in 2021-22, he signed for Ipswich. When the following season of 2022-23, he got promoted from League One. And last season, he got promoted with them from the Championship. This goalie then is a seasonal winner, and I reckon he could definitely help Burnley get promoted next season. Second, Derby County. Well, of course, I'm a Derby fan. I'm going to be unrealistically optimistic about my club's fortunes and predict them to get promoted. What else did you expect me to do? I think every team just jokes and puts their team to get promoted, no? Well, Paul Warner has already proven himself to be a successful manager, albeit failed to keep Rotherham up every time he got promoted with the Millers, apart from his last time here. However, 2 aspects differ from that time at the New York Stadium. Firstly, he had a far smaller budget with Rotherham, and also a far smaller fan base than the club with history. I don't mean any offence to Rotherham, but they are a smaller club than Derby, and that does mean that Derby have inevitably a bigger pull for players to come to. The work rate he instills at the club is very desirable for any successful club. And he's also brought in championship experience in Jerry Yates, Ben Osborne, Ebu Adams, and Caden Jackson. Goodmine, I think it's pronounced, has already appeared to be a strong asset in midfield. And David Ozo is a typical young centre-back who has had so much success in the Championship already in his youthful career. Now, once Zetterstrom comes in, who has been dubbed Scandinavia's best goalkeeper, then they will definitely improve. Considering that they did have the best defence in League One last season due to the iconic centre-back duo of Cashin and Nelson. Nathaniel Mendes-Lang also had the most amount of assists in the EFL last season, so it's going to be crucial to Derby's success this season. And positivity breeds positive results. Hence, with promotion, Derby know what it takes and will be positive this season, earning back-to-back promotions once they adapt to the league and get that positive mojo that can put beside the pre-season's woes. Now, pre-season, we're going to completely forget about. I sort of ignore it for most clubs just because it tends to be more about formations and style of play and getting match fitness in than any actual result pre-season, so don't read too much into them. Finally, top of the league, I got Luton Town. When they were promoted last season, they spent both transfer windows in the Premier League with the anticipation they would be relegated. So spent cheap but good standard Championship players, and well, the relegation did come. Probably more competitive than I think most people expected. Therefore, they already have the blueprints to do really well this season. Rob Edwards, after all, managed for promotion with Luton in the first place, and has also experienced promotion with Forest Green Rovers as a manager as well. And other than Ross Barkley moving to Villa, they've not done much in the transfer window that has negatively affected them. So this lack of tampering means they can put an instant return plan into action. And unlike sometimes when this has failed because they think, oh, we just need to rip up everything and start all over again, this time it will not, because they've done it in the right way. And when they're in Premier League, put the roots for a sustainable performance. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do please subscribe. Please go and watch another video. Got plenty of other predictions. I've got my Premier League ones coming out next week. Also got my score predictions coming out. Leave your predictions down below. Good afternoon, Will. I hope you are happy with where I've placed some of the teams this season, particularly your team. But I will say goodbye and good afternoon, and I will see you all in the next video.